So now the talk today is all about Gelena. Hi guys. She is trying to living a new, almost zero waste lifestyle. So she will talk us about all the options that we can use in our everyday life to reduce the waste and garbage. And so she will give us some option and some practical also idea of how we can do it, because it's not so easy, but it's something that we can try every day to work together in our single life. And so enjoy, and now Gelena, it's your turn. Hi.
Hello. As I was presented, my name is Gelena. I'm part of this union of women's union, and we met online because in Italy zero waste lifestyle is not so common, not as it is in the US or in UK or in Australia. So there are only few of us, and in order to meet, all of us have created an Instagram account, and we came together on Instagram, and we started writing to each other, talking to each other, and finding solutions for everyday problems on how to substitute things that are in plastic and that are, of course, harmful to our nature, to our earth, to water, and to everything else. And so this is what we created. We're not even 1 year old, but we are having some new followers and some new people who would like to follow and learn more about zero waste. I'll show you a video at the beginning just to tell you maybe why, because not for everybody it may be natural to start something which is probably a little bit of a hassle at the beginning, but actually it's not that hard, and it's possible for everybody, and it's not supposed to be something you have to be perfect at, but everybody can do a little step in everyday life to improve and to make the difference. So So this is all pretty scary for all of us, I think. Ocean is everywhere, and the plastic is everywhere, and even if we're not aware of this and maybe we don't see it in our everyday life, actually between the two oceans there is a huge garbage patch which is big almost as France, so it's quite big, and it's all full of plastics that were dumped in the ocean, sometimes in a legal way, sometimes just by careless people who would throw things. And most of the times because there's no people abandon also garbage on the beaches. So all of these things are horrible for the environment, and actually there's no fast and practical solution. And if this goes on with the same rhythm it has been going on now, by 2030 there will be more plastic than fish, and so this will of course impact our lives. We live all on the same earth, and at the moment we're about 7.6 billion of people, and within 20 years we're probably going to be 9 billion people, and most of us rely in some way on ocean in order to have fish, food and jobs. And if this commodity is going to be trashed and destroyed, we will all be affected, probably with nothing to eat and probably with a worse oxygen to breathe and so many other things. So this is scary, even if we don't think about it. And I think everybody can do something, and everybody probably thinks, what can I do? I'm so small, I'm just one of the 7.6 billion people, so what do I care and how can I do something? Actually, there are little steps that everyone can do that are not hard, and they're actually simple, and they make a huge difference, especially if everybody does it. And if we pretend from companies to have a different impact on everyday policies, we can actually change a lot. For example, most of the times we go out and, now it's hot outside and we can just take a walk in the center and get a coffee. When you get a coffee, you probably get a paper cup and a plastic lid on it. That is something that is not going to be recycled because you use it for a couple of seconds or maybe minutes. You drink your coffee and you just throw it probably in a garbage box or something. All of the things that are not being put in the right place, they're not going to be recycled. So that is going to go to one of the things you see over there. It's going to go in one of those places and it's going to rot, and birds will probably eat it, and then probably people who live near this dump are going to breathe all the air and all the pollution, and the water courses that are near are going to be polluted also. So every our action has actually a carbon print and a carbon footprint, and this is something we should think about. Maybe it's horrifying to hear it like that, but it's just every action has a weight. Even sometimes this weight is not visible to our eyes, and this can be everything. For example, the coffee I said, or maybe even just the shampoo you buy at a normal grocery store. It has a plastic bottle on, and you use it only maybe for a month, and then you throw away the plastic bottle, and it's made of a very thick plastic. That is something, in order to produce it, they have to extract the petroleum from underneath the earth. Then many people work on this, and they have to destroy forests to do that. Then they have to create they have to transport it, and sometimes the transportation is very long. It goes on ships or on tubes, and it travels for thousands of kilometers. And then it has to be transformed into plastic. So if you think it's kind of nonsense using something so difficult to get from underneath the earth and transform it in something you will use only for seconds or maybe a month or something. So of course plastic is important, and there are many good things you can make out of it, but probably not single-use plastic. There are great things like, cars are made partially in plastic, trains are made in plastic, many medical devices are made in plastic, and that's useful and that's good because it's not breakable and it's lightweight. But all the stuff we are used to in the last 30 years actually is completely useless, and we can live without it. Like, you know, like our parents did, or probably like our grandparents did, and all of them survived, and all of them are lived happily after. For example, here in the ocean, they show, for example, all the plastics they find inside birds' stomachs or fish. Birds actually, they capture animals, little fish, and they also eat animals on the ground. So they can find little plastics in the sand, and sometimes they eat the little fish, and little fish has other plastics in it because for us it might look strange. Why do animals eat plastic? Because it's obviously not delicious. But actually for animals, it has a special odor that makes it yummy. So when they see plastic, they say, "Oh, this is good. It might be my dinner," and they eat it. For example, for people, it's not the same because we don't feel that odor, and it's not yummy for us, of course. So this probably saves us from being stupid. But animals do not recognize that this is harmful. They eat it and they die. And let me see after this. And of course, you know, all of us think about how nice, you know, it would be nice to go to the ocean, to do a nice vacation, maybe in the Caribbean Sea or in Thailand or somewhere. But then how would you feel if you spend lots of money and you finally travel all around the world, you go to this beautiful beach, you just dive in and you find this. And it's all disgusting and it touches you and you think, oh, this is so horrible. Why did people do this? But this was done by people, not by animals, not by anybody else, by Martians. It's all us, people from the Earth. And it's all our fault from the last 50 years, not more. And it's kind of crazy if you think that we exist, I mean, for around 40,000 years, like as, you know, intelligent species. But this mess, it just came up in the last 50. And we're actually going probably to compromise our future if we don't find a solution. And most of us would like to find a solution also from our governments and to ask better policies and better, you know, better laws to protect the environment. But most of the times it's very hard. So what we suggest is to start from ourselves. And the only thing that actually, of course, we have to vote to express our opinions, but we probably vote in a much louder way with our money every day. So everything you do can make a difference because your money says what exactly you want. And all the companies at the moment, the most important thing is to satisfy the client. So if the client wants to not have plastic, there are going to be options. But unless the client does not disapprove this kind of behavior, plastic is still going to be used everywhere. Okay, this is another nice image about something we would never like to find. And actually, I don't know where you come from, guys. If you have a beachside near, and if you go for a walk or a run, and do you see plastic? Anybody lives on a seaside? No. Riverside? No. Everybody in the big cities. But big cities normally also have rivers, so it'd be Thames or Spree or Moscow or something. But this can actually happen to any kind of. This is probably the first swap you can do. It's very easy. When you go out for a drink, you know, a straw is not something you really need. I mean, we all know how to use a glass without a straw. It's not hard. We all did it. I think we can also ask for not having a straw. So this is something easy, doesn't cost you anything. And if somebody puts it in, probably at the beginning it's hard to come back and say, oh, sorry, I asked for no straw. But actually, if you do this, and even if you might look like a little bit annoying at the beginning, but then people realize why you do it. At the first, you're probably going to be considered a freak. But then the second time, you will make your point. And the third time, they will stop putting the straw in your drink. And this actually works. There are also alternatives for, you know, there are also paper straws. There are also steel straws, something like this, or glass straws. If you just cannot live without it, you can just buy one and carry it with you. So if you're drinking something full of ice and you don't want to get it into your nose, you just use one of these. And it's pretty easy. And it's not expensive, so it's not something, you know, privileged, or for few it's like $2 or €2. So I think we can all manage. And another option is, for example, I don't know how about where you live, but in Italy, most of the times. Okay, maybe I found the right movement to do. In Italy, for example, in most of the places where you can get a drink in the evening, they serve it in a glass, in a normal glass, regular glass. So there is no problem with the plastic kind of glass. But sometimes, in order to go out and drink in outside, they give you this kind of glass. It's not recyclable. It's fragile. It's going to be used for 20 minutes, and then it's going to last forever. There's no way, most of the times, the bars do not recycle it, so they just dump it in this black bag with all the other garbage. And so this is actually a big waste of energy and money and resources. Another thing you can do, you can ask for the glass, for a regular glass, or you can bring your own glass. This looks a little bit maybe like a hippie kind of thing, but then once you get used to it, it's not that hard. It's not, you don't have to bring lots of things with you, but if you know, for example, it takes a little bit of practice, but if you know that you're going to have a night out and you're going to drink outside in a park, it doesn't make any sense that you go to the gazebo and you get 5 drinks and every time he gives you this different glass. So you can just bring yours, and you are going to be looked a little bit strange, but that's okay. You just say, can I have it here? And then if you just really want a straw, you can use it and use it together. Otherwise, if you're one of those people that spill things, you can close it and drink it from here. So it's actually good, because even if it falls because you're drunk, probably not everything is going to spill out. So that's good. Another option for everyday life, I don't know how about you, but in Italy, most of the people drink water in plastic bottles. And it's kind of crazy because Italy has great regular water from the sink. So tap water is perfectly drinkable. But most of the people, maybe because of the marketing, prefer to drink the plastic bottled water. This is something you can avoid because it's possible just to put some water in a normal glass bottle and to leave it to leave it open for 8 hours. So all the chloride, which is a gas, evaporates, and it will actually have no flavor, and it'd be as good as the bottle one, maybe even better. So there's no need to buy the plastic stuff. Or if you're at a restaurant, before ordering, you can ask if the water you order is going to arrive from tap, or if it's going to be in a glass bottle or the plastic one. And if it's going to be in a plastic, you can just ask, can I have a tap glass of water? It's possible. It's not so hard. And then if you think, just try for one day or a week. Try to look what you're throwing away every day, but not only at your house, but from the morning. So when you start, you brush your teeth, and you probably will brush it with a plastic toothbrush. And it's something normally we change for hygienic reasons every 2 or 3 months. And it normally finishes up, it's not recyclable, and it's going to last forever. And now we don't have the cruel images, but there are many turtles, with this stuff in their eyes and in their nose, and they die because of this. So why not use something like this? This is a bamboo toothbrush, and it is compostable. You have to remove these parts, but anyway, this is something actually we can all do, and it doesn't cost much, and or you can switch. If you don't like this kind of toothbrush, you can switch to a electric toothbrush with only the little part that you change, so you keep the base. And that is also an option if you are not okay with using this type of solution. Another thing is, in Italy or in the European community, most of the people, the average is the trash they produce for a year is around 457 kilograms of trash, which is it's like 1.5 to 2 kilos per day. And it's a lot of stuff. If you think of a planet like your home or your house, and there's no way you can throw your things unless stocking it in your room, you can imagine that in 1 year, 456 kilograms of trash is going to be like almost half of your room stuck with stuff, which is going to smell, it's going to rot, and some of it is going to last forever. So are all these things really necessary? I think not. I mean, most of the times we can ask ourselves, do I really need this? Does this make me happy? So if you're going to drink a coffee, you can have it, you can drink it in the bar, in a, porcelain little cup, or you can in ceramic kind of cup, regular one, or the same for water. Another thing is, food packaging and, all the sweets and all the stuff. When we go to regular supermarkets, you find everything is fully packed in plastic. And you say, okay, God, how do I avoid this? There's no way to do it probably. And it looks kind of maybe overwhelming, but it's not, because there are solutions. At the beginning, maybe you start with something small, with a straw and maybe a spoon to carry with you if you're going to eat an ice cream, or maybe you start with the small things, but the more you do, the more you realize that you can do better and you can do more, and it's not hard. So why not do it? And the thing is, for example, for the fruits and vegetables, in Italy, most of them are sold in plastic, covered in plastic, or you have to weight them and put them in another biodegradable bag. But actually, there are many markets. There are farmers markets where you can get your vegetables with your own little. This is another thing. I made these by myself, but actually, you can buy them. These are little, reusable bags made out of cotton. I did this myself from an old thing, but sorry, I don't know how to say it in English. But this is actually, you can bring it. You can use it for flour, for sugar. You can use it for tea. You can use it for kiwi, apples, whatever. And you put it here. And when you go to a farmer's market, it's easier to say, can I use this, instead of going to a supermarket where they probably will say that you can't. So there are options. As for myself, for example, I have a very busy schedule at work, and I don't have time to go to the farmer's market because it's on days when I probably work. So for me, the solution, for example, is having a food delivery, and there are many, options. I don't know if in your countries it's possible, but in Italy there are many companies that deliver fruits and vegetables directly from farms to your home. And you can choose online all the things you want, and you can have it delivered with no packaging. They give you or a cardboard box, or maybe a normal, but no plastics in it. So this is an option. It's easy, it's fast, and you also support your local farmers. So that's also a good point. Another thing is, I don't know what kind of jobs you do, and if you spend lots of time away from your houses, probably you are going to eat your lunch somewhere in a cafeteria or a bar, and many times you find single plastic everywhere, knives, forks, spoons, and everything. But you can bring your own little kit. If you work in a small place like I do, I just brought my plate and my fork and knife, and I use it there, and I keep it there, and I just wash it. But of course, if you are in a cafeteria, maybe that would be harder, so it's better just to bring something light. There are some, you can have forks and knives made out of bamboo, and they're very lightweight, and you can bring them everywhere, and they're just very small. And another thing is, for example, for ladies, most of us have hygiene products made out of single-use plastic. Some, for example, when you take your makeup off, there are some sheets most of us use, and that is something that just goes directly. It's not going to be recycled in any way. It's one of those things which is partially made of plastic. It's some microfibers, and they are very harmful. So an option is you just use your regular detergent or maybe a coconut oil, and you can use one of this. You just put it on your hand and you take off all the makeup. So that's another option, easy. This is washable in your washing machine. And actually, there are many different. There are many different aspects of life that are going to be probably changing in your life when you start it. At first, maybe it's something small, but then it builds up, and you find out so many other aspects of life that can be part of a zero waste lifestyle. For example, the clothing. Most of us, buy lots of clothes, and because they're nice and they're cheap and they're available, but it's actually something to think about, because probably we don't need as many, and if we buy things which are better quality and last longer, and maybe made from ethical kind of brands, we can support better kind of industry and policies for the workers and also for our earth. What else? Do you have any questions about something maybe you may be curious about? Glass is actually absolutely recyclable on 100%. So that you are not. It can be infinitely times. You can recycle it forever, and it's not going to downgrade. So you can make many other bottles out of it, and there's no. Actually, the materials like steel, like aluminium or glass, are actually perfect because they are completely recyclable. So those are the materials you should prefer instead of plastic. Tetra Paks. So it's a cardboard, but it's with a plastic film on it. Of course, it's better. It would be better not to use it. It is recyclable in some states, but you have to check with your local, recycling center. Because, for example, in Italy, Milano, you recycle it with the paper, and you have to take away the plastic part that you take off. But actually, it's not all the materials. Just if you think about something like, did my grandpa ever saw this? And if the answer is no, that's probably something you should use. I mean, if you just if you think if you think it in this term, it's probably easier because all of the things that we had like 50, 60 years ago, plastics were actually used for useful stuff and not for single-use stuff. And nobody would ever, go to a place and have a plastic or a paper plate or a knife or a fork. I mean, it was something that it didn't exist, and it's just a recent kind of thing. And actually, it's impacting our entire world. And since there are going to be so many of us in the next years, and the earth is not going to expand and become bigger, and the place and the oceans are going to be probably more polluted, it would be better probably to try to be lighter and to have a lighter carbon footstep and to use many things that don't leave any trace. I mean, if we would all of us would probably to leave a better world for ourselves and for our children, if somebody will have any, but even for the animals on the planet. But actually now we are the only animal which is growing and multiplicating. All the other ones are going to, not going to go extinct, but they are having hard times finding food or adapting to a new climate. So there are so many things, for example, I think the most important thing about zero waste is, of course, to do something you believe in, but also to inspire other people and to talk about it, and maybe also, especially probably, to make the companies change their packaging, because actually most of the trash we make is only packaging. I mean, most of it. So if we can eliminate that would be it'd be a very, very big thing. So Lush, for example, invited us, to these little talks because they have launched this line which is naked, and it's naked because it has no packaging. And this is actually amazing because, there are no need to have, plastic bottles or something. You can use a soap instead of a liquid body wash. You can use a solid shampoo bar instead of a liquid shampoo, which would be probably in a bottle. So there are so many options, and they're not so hard, and the difference would be great. But it's just a matter of. Have you ever heard about any other zero wasters? Is it something new to you, or concept you never heard of? No. You knew. Yeah, the most famous ones probably are Lauren Singer, which is American, and also Bea Johnson, so they both are American, so probably. I've been trying to live it the best I can, because of course 100% is very hard and almost impossible, so I'm doing my best. It's been around 2 years probably. 1 year since we met with the other girls from the same, and we created this network. But before I was almost on my own, and I felt a little bit lonely because I didn't know, where to go shopping, where to find things. So I was looking for tips from these American gurus about this, and I was looking for answers. But things that happen in the US probably sometimes are not available in Europe. So you have to find. It's like a compromise. You have to find between your finance, time, and your values, and where you live. Because of course I'm pretty lucky. I live in Milano, and there are a few shops where you can buy in bulk and you can buy with no packaging. So if I want to get pasta, I just go there, I bring this, and I take 2 kilos of pasta, and I'm fine. But of course, if somebody lives in a small place where there's nothing of this is available, you're gonna have a harder time. So of course, maybe you will not do grocery shopping, zero waste, but you will do something else. It's it's a progress. It's something you try. For example, with this network, we write letters to the government, to different stores, and we try to make them make the change we want them to make. And probably, I think it's the customer actually has a lot of more power than it has by voting, on the politics. So that's the thing we would like to promote, which is to, ask for change, be the change, and maybe we can have a better world. So that's about it. These 2 girls are also from the network, and we actually come from different cities. There are more than 30 girls from all around Italy, and some of them live far away in other countries like UK, Germany, and blah blah. So some of us actually this time we meet, but most of the times we don't meet. We just write, and so it's we have to fight to get the awareness, but we are getting in there. Just a few days ago, we had this breakthrough. One of our girls, Marianna, was actually on national TV, and it was like in a little show, and she had very little space to talk about our aims. But I think there are little changes. Actually, Italy is not like Germany. I mean, for many, for green policies and all that stuff, we are very, very like in a Jurassic age. But I think we can make it. Yes, there's no sense in, putting plastic on banana because it's already packed. Or, it's a natural packaging, Earth is quite, if you think about the system of our planet, it is kind of zero waste. Nothing is useless, and nothing is going to be thrown away, because something which is in all our animal world, whatever comes, it borns, and then it multiplicates, then it matures, and then it dies, and it rots, and it's a cycle, and it's perfect. And the only thing that is not perfect is like we that are so intelligent, and we made so many great things, and we went on other planets, but then we're not so smart enough to protect our own environment. So that's probably the strangest things, because we are very highly intelligent, and we did highly stupid things. And that's crazy, because animals that probably are a lot more, simple, but actually they don't destroy the planet. Everything they do is perfectly within the rules and within the naturality of the system. So that's kind of something to think about it. Another thing, actually, which is possible, when you buy wine, I don't know if you buy wine in your countries, in Italy, this is one of the easy swaps. There are some shops where there's wine in the barrels, and you can bring your own bottle and you can have it filled, and it costs a lot less, actually. So that's an incentive. If you pay less, like €1 or 50 cents, it's something that can make the change for people, because they spend less. In many companies, at least that's what I hear in the US, it's possible if you go to Starbucks or somewhere, in Starbucks you can use you can ask a regular cup, the ceramic one, but in other places you can get a discount if you bring your own cup. But also another aspect of being zero waste is trying to not buy new stuff, but trying to find something, upcycle it, or try to use what you already have. So you just go creative, or sometimes you try to do things yourself, or to repair something yourself. That can be like a little hole in a t-shirt, instead of throwing it, or you can just sew it, or find somebody who can do it. And sometimes with you get to know more people. It's kind of strange, because when you go to regular supermarkets, you don't talk to to the vendors, because everything is packed. You just put it in your bag and then you go to the cashier and you pay. When you go to to markets and when you go to this kind of stores, you have to talk with people, because they have to actually serve you. So you give jobs to them, and there's also an amount of time that you pass with them, so you talk. And that's good, because you actually, you humanize all the activities that with time are losing their human aspect, like shopping. And the same is when you go, for example, secondhand shopping, there's a component which is the uniqueness of the things that you buy, that probably you're not going to see other people wearing that stuff. Like happens, when you go and you buy the Zara dress and everybody has it, and you say, oh, she has it, she has it, she has it, and you feel like I'm one of the billion people who has the same thing. But when you go, you buy secondhand or you buy vintage stuff, you're kind of one of a kind. And you talk to people, who works there, maybe they call you when the new things arrive. It's different from, the relationships you build when you go to, GDO, when you go to regular supermarkets, which are kind of faceless and humanless. So there are some different aspects. Sometimes maybe it's all new and strange at the beginning, because, maybe we're not used to it. And sometimes it takes a little bit of a courage. Or at the beginning, I was very afraid of asking if I can put things in my own. Or for example, you go to eat a pizza and you don't finish it. Another big issue is all the waste that is being created by food that is thrown away by people who do not finish it. And actually, in many countries, doggy bag is pretty accepted and everybody does it. In Italy, they're like, oh, that's like a thing for poor people. I mean, it's not so used, but you get over it, and because actually it's a big waste, to leave something on a plate and to throw it, and it makes no sense doing this. But it's it's a cultural thing, but actually, yeah, it's possible to get over many things, and then you discover to be actually to care a lot less about things that seemed so important, and then they're not important anymore. So that's, if I think when I started this, I was a lot more consumerist, so I would buy lots of more things, I would spend lots of more money and complain about the money I didn't have. And actually now I feel richer, but it's not about because I actually got rich, of course. It's because of a better money planning and management, and because I stopped buying things I didn't need, because I started to ask myself, do I really need this? Or maybe I have other 45 skirts and 30 t-shirts, and maybe I can just use something else what I have. And I started selling things. I mean, the ones I have, because I had too many and I realized that I didn't use them, and I started selling stuff. And it actually feels good, because you get rid of many things you don't need, and you have lots of, maybe more time or maybe new ideas. It's a creative process. Does anybody want to try a zero waste challenge? This is something, actually, I'm not about the challenges, but just something it's possible to try on your own, and just to see, just do little steps. And especially one thing is to observe what actually goes into your trash, and then think how can you do something differently in order not to have it in your trash. That is actually a big, that's something just to think about. Then many things come naturally once you start to think about it. Because many years ago, I always cared about the planet and the environment, but I thought recycling was the something that gets everything in place. So I thought if I would just recycle it, then I'd be fine. I'm good. I'm better than people who don't recycle. But that's wrong. I mean, that's just the minimum. I don't eat meat, but if you go to the butcher shop, not the supermarket, because then they will probably have to put it in their own packaging. But if you go to a local butcher with your Tupperware, like with this or with the glass one, you say, can you put it here? He will put it there. I mean, you will have to talk. That's the difference. It's not something that comes automatically, because if you just go, he will put it in regular paper, plastic, or whatever. But actually, yes, the same thing is for bread, even if it's not something, when you go, like in Paris, they carry the bread on their armpits, and that's not so hygienic. In Italy, they put it in many other places. But actually, yeah, it's possible. If you bring something like a towel or something like this and you say put it there, he will put it there. It's up to, local businesses are actually a lot more free to, to do as they want and to help you out. You can find most of the foods. There are some stores that have almost everything, especially, dry stuff. So spices, chocolate, cacao, pasta, rice, whatever. And many times they also have all the detergents that you can buy in, reuse the old bottles of the detergent. You just fill them in, and that's actually good. And actually, yeah, it is possible. You just have to organize your life. I mean, of course, if you're running late after work and you go to a regular supermarket, you're not going to be able to do anything differently. But if you just plan to do this thing on your day off, you can get almost everything. Almost. Cosmetics are for girls is the hardest part because some things actually have no options, like the mascara, or maybe contact lenses solution. For example, there's no condoms. There is actually no alternative to condom. I mean, that's the only way to protect yourself from the diseases. Yes. So that's
like natural latex or something?
Yes, but it's still the packaging will still be in plastic. But I would say not to be so zero waste on the condoms. No. Let's do it on everything else, but not on your health. I mean, if you have to go to get X-rays or you have to go a shot and you have to, I mean, that is the plastic. It's okay to use. I mean, it's obviously health comes first. But all the other useless stuff, like all this. It's something easy. And for girls, actually, another thing is the menstrual cup. I don't know if anybody has used it, but actually it's a life-changing kind of thing because you actually can do everything. All the marketing around tampons and pads, and they show you all these girls like running, flying, and being super women. It's nice to see, but it's not like that because most of the times you're still worried about many, leaks and stuff like that. Instead, the cup does not do that. I mean, once you learn how to use it, you can do all the, gym stuff, and you can do Olympics, you can go anywhere. So that's also a very money-saving and environmental saving change. And actually, for many other beauty products, it's possible sometimes when you cannot buy them unpacked, it's possible to do them your own. So that's the creative part of being zero waste. And also the fails of the zero waste, because you buy many oils and butters and you try to make things yourself, and sometimes it does not come out the way you want it to come out, and it's not good. Sometimes it's great. So there are many, and then it's one of the research parts, you go to look at the tutorials and you find the recipes and then you try to do it your own, which could be the toothpaste, or it could be a butter, or it can be an eyeshadow. And actually some things are very simple to make and some of them, of course, are not, so it's okay. Prego. Okay, this is my Instagram account. Actually, if somebody is interested, I can suggest some books. And there's actually this book, but it's only available in Italian, which is great. And it's called Trash, and everything you need to know about trash. And it's actually eye-opening because it has lots of different arguments, very simple ones, and some of them are about astrophysics, some of them are about the poo, and some of them are about animals. It's really, really interesting, and it's very nice to read. So there's also many films I can recommend. Maybe some of you saw the one that Leonardo DiCaprio made 2 years ago, Before the Flood. Anyone? Yeah. And that's also, it's the same, I mean, it's a bigger kind of a picture, but it's actually about the same argument. I mean, we can all make a change by doing something by ourselves. Okay, I think I'm done.